Hey everybody, I wish I could be there this Friday, but I hope this video really inspires you to practice and get this down. I think I've got a pretty good system, but I think you guys can help me tweak it and make it even better. So we're going to look at setting up that multicam and color correction. I'm not going to touch on the sound correction for now, but this will get you guys going. Okay, so here we are looking at the project, and I've brought in the two cameras, and then I also have the audio file right here. I'm going to go ahead and just put the audio file as my first one. Okay, now what you can do is you can set up a multicam, and then you can go back and affect these clips and have that trickle down to the multicam. And the way that I'm doing that, let me switch to a list view. Stretch this out so we can see the names a little bit better. Okay, so what I do is I start by taking each one of these video files, control click or right click on it, and choose to make a new sequence from the clip. It makes a new sequence, puts the clip right in there, names it the same as the video file. I'm going to repeat that with this guy, and I go ahead and new sequence from clip. There we go. Now I can take these three and build a multicam file. So I'll select the first one, hold down the command key, and select my sequence, not my file, but my sequence, and then do it for the next one. So I've got all three of these. I control click here and choose create multi-camera source sequence. Okay, when I do here, it's going to go ahead and make the video clips names plus multicam for my names. We can use audio because that seems to work really well. And then down here for audio, sequence setting, which camera we're going to use? Camera 1. Since I selected this guy first, it's going to consider that as camera 1. And we're good to go. I'll go ahead and click OK. Okay. Now it takes those process files, which we're going to come back to. It takes our audio file here, and our two sequences are here. Now, this is a multicam sequence, but we're going to need that to become a sequence as well. So if I control click on that and choose new sequence from clip, this is where we're going to work to do the multi-camera stuff. Okay, so notice that it says multicam at the end here. Over here in the program window, I want to just add a few buttons. So I hit this plus sign, I drag down my multi-camera view and the red record button. And now if I hit this button, now I see the multi-camera options right here. They seem to be in sync, which is great. And if I wanted to switch between cameras, I can go ahead and hit the record and hit the play button, and now switch cameras.
Just in case you're not paying attention, I want to tell me how you would describe quantum physics to a redneck.
And there we go. Hit stop, and you can see that those cuts were made down here. Now, in between here, I can edit these. I can simply select this, and I can click on to change that clip, or I can also use the roll tool, for those of you who remember the roll tool, and we can adjust the edits that way too. It's a perfect tool for doing some fine-tuning here. Okay. Also, just while we're here, just a reminder, hit the letter M. That makes a marker. Double click on that, and you just add a little bit of duration, put some information in there, and then we've got a marker that's a little visible spot for us in that area. That, of course, will show up in the markers area right here. And when there's a bunch of them here, you can jump to those markers right away just by clicking on this. So, okay, so that sets up our markers and gets us ready to export everything out, except for the audio. But the big thing is getting that color correction. So here's how we do it. We go back to the Process Clips folder. And in here, we're going to color correct each one of these sequences individually. So if I select this one right here, which is our close-up, right? And then this one right here, which is our mid-shot. We'll go ahead and color correct this. Okay, now I'll go ahead and do a color correction on this one. I like to go to Window, Workspace, and change it to Color Correction. Okay, once in color correction area here, Want to make sure that this is ganged so that when I move this, it's moving this top one, which is what our problem was last time. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the multi-camera view and just make sure that we still have it ganged. We do. And if I drop this down, you can see gang to program monitor setup. Okay, now we go to the effects. And from the effects, we'll go ahead and choose the color corrector three-way. Here's the three-way color corrector. You could also use the fast color corrector as well. I've applied that, and I will go to my effects panel, and now I see my controls here. The first thing I want to do is correct the tonal value. So I'll go to the reference window and change this from composite video to the YC waveform. It shows me here that we don't have a whole lot going in the bright areas. And so what I'm going to do is start to change these values for my input levels and my output levels. So as I change the input levels here, I change this white point. Notice that that's stretching that out. And I want to get that tip of this guy right here to be right at the top. And you can see how much better it looks already. Let's just turn off and on that. So you can see we were underexposed when we shot that. Okay. So I would say here, by the way, too, with this mid shot, it's not too bad. I think he's just a little bit too centered. I would like to see him over a little bit to the left in the, if we were to divide the screen up into thirds, I'd like to see his kind of being divided, his head being divided over in the one of the sides, so it's not too close to the center. That's something we can work on as far as framing up, and you guys can look at. Now, so that looks a lot better. As far as our blacks go, it doesn't look like we have to really bring down too much. It looks like we've got a pretty good blacks right here. And obviously you can see that Scott's shirt being so dark is a problem. We would need a lot more of a backlight here popping off of his back to really do something good with this. So think about that when you're experimenting with the lights. Okay, I'm going to go quickly with this, but you would spend more time adjusting that. But that's what we do with the waveforms. That is the luminosity or the values from black and white. Now, if we go to Vectorscope here, now that's going to show us just the colors, the color information. It has nothing to do with the luminosity, the brightness or contrast. So notice over here, we've got this. This is probably our this could be our flag over here, but not really sure. One thing we can tell is if we put a crop in, we could actually see where these values are. And the thing about using this scope is that this line right here is the line that human flesh is on. So skin color, and it doesn't matter if you have darker skin or lighter skin, you're going to be somewhere along this line. Okay, so we're going to pull out another effect called the crop. And we drop the crop down on here. And now when I look at that effects control here for crop, and we'll go ahead and select crop. That allows me to just go ahead and grab those points since I have it selected. And I'm making just a little area where I'm going to use this to look at something. So there I'm looking at his skin, and notice that it's kind of falling in the right spot. Maybe a little bit over here to the right, but it's pretty good. And then I'll come along over here. Let's see what happens if we select this red from the flag. So I'm just going to really focus on that red and see that it's putting it here in the red area. So that's what we're working with here. And it looks like it still could shift over a little bit to the right, but let's use skin as our way of figuring that out. So I'll go over to Scott and just want to isolate an area that has skin. So here I'm just isolating part of his forehead. And you can see it looks pretty good, but I'm going to make a slight adjustment, I think. If I go over into our control panels for the three-way, I'm going to use the midtones, and I'm going to start to bring this, try to move this over just slightly. Okay, so as I move this over, just slight movements, I just touch it. Oh, I went too far. Okay, so just a tad, and then I'll go ahead and turn off the viewing of the crop tool, and there we go. Looks pretty decent. So his skin color looks pretty real to me. Okay, so we'll consider this one color corrected for the demo anyway. Again, you would spend more time really looking at this, but you can see what good results we had just in a little time, going from here to here. Okay, the white looks really white, the red looks really red here, so it looks like we did a pretty good job. Okay, going back to the other file now. So we just did the one that was 1349, and that's 1349 right here. So let's color correct this one. So I'm going to double click to load that guy up. I'm just going to kind of be a silly here and do a silly color correction. I use the fast color corrector here and drop that on here. Come on over to my effects control, and I'll give it a blue tint. Yeah, I see it looking really strange. I'm going to go also make it brighter. So there we go. Now, I wouldn't say that's color corrected. It's color affected. All right, so now you can see that what I did is I went into the process clips and I changed the color corrections. I could always go back and tweak this, turn it off, try it again. But the cool thing here is that these changes are now trickling down to our multi-camera. So if I look at this guy right here, our multi-cam sequence, I double click to let that into there. And you can see that as I scrub here, sure enough, there's as blue as can be. And there's the pretty good color correction. So there you have it. It's working. It's changing right here, and if I go back again and change it, it'll trickle down to here. So you guys see if you can master this. Maybe write down the steps that I've just talked about so that everybody knows how to do this, because this will be a critical thing. You guys have a great week. Look forward to seeing you when I get back. Okay.